Hi, I'm Trib columnist Kevin Gorman, and joined now special honoree this week, colleague Paul Schofield, and he's being honored at the Westmoreland County Scholar Athlete Awards Banquet with the Ferranti Memorial Award. And Ducky, that's one of those awards that it's kind of for a lifetime achievement award type thing here, but 40 years in this business. Can you talk about how much being a sports writer has changed over the course of your career?
Well, it has changed a lot. Way back when I first started, you did a lot of game coverage. I mean, when I talk game coverage, you put a lot of play-by-play in your stories. People loved it. Now you have to featureize your stories better. They're better reads now. Back then, I had one friend who filled 2 columns worth of story and not have a quote in it. But now, you like to go around 10 to 12-inch stories, short blurbs where people can get in and out of stories.
Yeah, and you've spent 15 years at the Connellsville Daily Courier and with the Tribune-Review since 1995. What has it been like? I mean, you're kind of probably as recognizable in Westmoreland and Fayette counties as any coach or player, being that you're just at so many different events so often. What's it been like for you to cover those 2 areas in particular?
When I first started Connellsville, we only had to cover five or six high schools. In my main beat, I took care of Connellsville. And back then, they really had excellent athletic programs in football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, and girls softball. And then when I got to Greensburg, I had to expand it to 50 schools. But you get a lot of friendships through people and coaches and players. It was hard for me when I first started to be called Mr. Schofield, but that showed respect, and it showed respect that the high school kids listen to their coaches and after a while, you get used to it.
Well, as one of the great signs of respect in your career was you were covering the #1 recruit in the nation, Terrell Pryor, the national #1 player ranked out of Jeanette High School, and the night before signing day, he gave you a little bit of a surprise phone call. Can you talk about that story? Because that was one of the biggest stories you've covered.
Well, back then, Jerry DiPaolo was the high school sports editor, and I had a story done by, say, 8 o'clock about signing day, and I'm sitting back, lounging in my chair, and I'm watching television at home, and my phone rings about 9:15, and it's Terrell, and Terrell goes, "Hey, I want you to let everybody know I'm not signing tomorrow." I said, "Terrell, you kidding me? I mean, the night before." He goes, "No, I'm not signing, and I want you to tell everybody." So I ended up calling Jerry, and Jerry's like, I imagine he just went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, he's not signing. I'll rewrite my lead." And by, I think, 9:45 that night, I turned it around in 15 minutes. We had a crawl line on ESPN, and you picked up with it, Sports Illustrated.
Sporting News, yeah.
Sporting News that, Tribune-Review, Paul Schofield's reporting Terrell Pryor's not signing, and that was a big thing.
Yeah, it was great because I also, being that I was freelancer for the Sporting News, I had a chance to let them know, and they got a chance to redesign their entire website recruiting page before it actually went live. So that saved them a big headache as well. That was probably one of the biggest national scoops around here.
Let me tell you a funny one about Terrell that year. They're at the championship basketball game, and my wife then had got on my phone and called Terrell. And it was my birthday. He called me the night before. He said, "Hey, I'm making an announcement. I need you to come over to State College. I'm going to make a big announcement. I'm going to tell you." So I show up, and he had the team sing "Happy Birthday," which was kind of funny and a little bit embarrassing, but
that's pretty cool.
Yes.
As far as Jeanette goes, though, you're also well known for another incident at McKee Stadium where Terrell Pryor played his high school football. Can you talk about that one and what that has meant to you? It's been one of those fun stories that you like to tell.
Well, that was the night I turned out the lights in the first quarter. I had my bag was in a utility room in the back of the press box, and I went and grabbed my phone. And on the way in, I flicked the light on to find my bag. And on the way out, I hit a light, but the light switch for the stadium lights was right above the room light, and I knocked out half the lights.
So that was the night. Terrell Pryor's he's put a lot of lights on the scoreboard. You've actually turned the lights off at the stadium,
Yeah.
so you guys can share some comment about lighting up Jeanette McKee Stadium. But you've also, one of your other passions aside from football has been covering wrestling, and you've had a chance to cover some greats. This year you've got a chance to cover a couple really impressive stories. One of them is Mickey Philippi, a guy that you covered very closely over his 4-year career. Can you talk about what it was like to cover him?
Oh, Mickey's a great kid, 3-time champion. He lost his dad years ago, and he's dedicated his life of wrestling to his dad. And Mickey is just a wonder to talk to, win or lose. He's going to talk to you all the time. He doesn't back away, and he's just a great wrestler, and I think he'll do well at Virginia.
And they had a great rivalry between him and Luke Pletcher at Latrobe. That was something that was kind of something you had a chance to cover. It was not just their individual careers, but the careers that they had that intertwined.
Well, Luke was another 3-time state champion. They were in different classifications. Mickey was in double A and Luke in triple A. But they met 8 times over the past 3 years, and Luke won the first 7. And the first time that Mickey won was at the Westmoreland County Championships.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild to cover that rivalry as it developed. Another one, obviously, Franklin Regional Spencer Lee, a kid who not only is undefeated, I think at 109-0 through his junior season, but also is a 3-time WPL and 3-time state champion, and just committed to the University of Iowa. What's it been like to cover him? Because he may go down as I think he will go down as one of the all-time greats.
Spencer is a joy. I mean, he talked as a freshman. He had goals as a freshman that he's living up to right now. He wanted to be the next 4-time undefeated PIAA champion, and he's three champions in, so he's 1 year away. But what a joy. He opens up. He talked about his mother making him tap out during a little wrestling bout one day. One day his mother was on the Olympic team from France for jiu-jitsu. But he's just a wonder. I think you've talked to him too, and he'll just talk your ear off, and he's pretty open, but he's very honest too.
Yeah. And a couple other, big stories that you've had a chance to write. One is kind of ongoing here, and I know you wrote about her last week, was Connellsville's Madison Wiltrout, who set a national record in the javelin last year and just made her kind of a triumphant return.
Yeah, Madison, I started covering her when she was in Little League Baseball, playing baseball against boys, and she was also one of those kids that tried out for the, I think, throw, run, and hit, and she made it to the World Series. I mean, the All-Star game, and was catching fly balls. Her last year, she could do it at, I think it was City Park in New York. But she's a joy. She's very talented. She's got invited to the Olympic trials this year. She's coming off a UCL replacement surgery, and she's taking it easy right now, trying to build that arm strength up. And she wants to I asked her, do you have your passport? She said, most definitely. She wants to go to Rio.
That's amazing. You get a chance to cover somebody still in high school, might have a shot at making the Olympics. Another one of your passions, I know, is golf, and you've had a chance to cover some impressive golfers as well. What would you say is your most memorable as far as covering golfers, especially in Westmoreland County?
Well, getting to cover Arnold Palmer and asking him a question, I said, every year there's a battle between Tri-State PGA and the West Penn Golf Association. They have a little called the Palmer Cup. And Palmer won't play now because he's hurt. But for years, Palmer got to play. And some of these amateurs got to play against Palmer. And you could tell that they got tight all the time. And I would ask Palmer, I said, boy, you still intimidate people. And he would laugh. He goes, me intimidate people? I'm 70 years old or so. And he goes, but he did. It was just a passion to know him personally. He's a great guy, and there's a lot of great guys out there.
But you've also had a chance to cover, and I'm sure this is the case with many of the athletes, not only did you cover Arnold Palmer, but his grandson golfed. I'm sure you've covered some people where you've covered their parents and the children. What's that like when you kind of been around? I mean, I'm going through that myself now, but what's that like when you're getting to that point in your career where you've covered both the parents and the children and can kind of make some comparisons?
It's kind of interesting because, you like to compare. They said, you're better than your dad, or, you got a little ways to go to be as good as your dad, and the kids take it well, and they know, and it's pretty exciting to do that, and there's a lot of great people out there.
Yeah, the one thing I like to say about sports writing, and I think I've heard you say this, is you kind of realize you're recording history as it happens. I mean, and that's one of the things is you're kind of like a live historian. Is that what makes it special for you? Is that what makes it fun for you to do? Is that you're not only getting to witness these things, but share your stories, and then be able to kind of tell people generation after generation.
Yeah, I always tell people one of the greatest basketball teams I ever saw was Ringgold back in the early 70s, and they had 5 Division I athletes on the basketball team, and they were just tremendous. They had Euless Payne, who went to Marquette and played in the NBA. They had Michael Brantley, who played football at Indiana State University. They had Mel Boyd, who was an outstanding cross-country runner at a Division I school. They had Scotty Nedro, who went on to play at Pitt. And then, of course, they had Joe Montana, who quarterbacked Notre Dame and was a MVP and Super Bowl champion playing. So it was a very impressive team. They didn't win the state title. They all got the flu the night before in the state semifinals. And then General Braddock, who had Hosea Champagne back in the day, they ended up winning it. So it took a great team from Braddock to beat them.
Yeah, that's the amazing part, is that sometimes the best teams you cover aren't necessarily the teams that win the titles. But as far as titles go, you're getting a well-deserved honor here with the Michael J. and John M. Ferranti Memorial Award at the 60th Annual Westmoreland County Scholar Athlete Awards Banquet, sponsored by Judge John J. Driscoll. That's at Ferranti's Lakeview in Hempfield. Congratulations, Ducky. It's been an honor to work alongside you, and it's a joy to see you being honored for your accomplishments and your contributions in your career.
Well, thank you.